Hi guys. I'm back here with Diamond Dave. And I wanted to discuss with you, Diamond Dave, about Amazon. So this story broke out this week. Amazon to lay off 18,000 workers, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Amazon is worldwide. Um, Everybody uses it. And I'll always associate Amazon with Jeff Bezos, even though he is no longer the CEO.
Okay.
This is the CEO of Amazon, Andy Gassi, and it said to lay off, he's getting ready to lay off 17,000 fewer employees, right? And I wanted to bring you in this conversation because you're just more knowledgeable when it comes to business and finance than I am. Um, why? Why do you think Amazon is laying off 18,000 workers, the largest job cut in company's history?
Yes, it's the is part of a normal business cycle. So what we normally see with businesses is that when they believe that revenues are really good, they believe that they're in a position where they can start to expand. They
Mhm,
start bringing more people in because we got to make sure that we can feed that demand. And one of the things that we saw as a result of the pandemic, more people sitting in the house and they were just doing a lot of ordering online. And so one of the few people that actually was out here in the streets still working was our Amazon people, even though they were delayed, but they was very much going at it because everybody was sitting in the house, but they were just still ordering. So there was a lot of consumer activity going on. As
mhm,
a result, it necessitated all those people. So when I read the articles, it talked about logistics, but also in the corporate side. So they're getting a lot of people out of logistics. You see that the
mhm,
server side is not being hit as much, but a lot of logistics, a lot of delivery side is where they're cutting and trimming some of that fat. And often when we're going into what a lot of people believe is going to be a recession 2023, a
mhm.
lot of times the economists or the analysts for that company come in and say, well, you know what? Let's get in front of that by starting to lay off what a lot of times is going to be a biggest expense, which is going to be labor. And so because we believe that demand may soften, which would drive down revenues, which is also compressed growth, let's get rid of what we believe our business expense normally is going to be in any business, which is going to be the labor, because what do we know we can do? We can always come back and hire them back later.
Mhm.
So it's better to get rid of them, not have that stress on our balance sheet, let them go. And then if we start to expand, let's say 2024, 2025, because of how that demographic situated, most people that are going to work in logistics,
Mhm.
unless they self-educate themselves out of that position, they'll still be in that labor pool. And if not those people, there will be a new group of people in that labor pool to work in Amazon logistics.
Well, it says here, last year, New York Times reported that Amazon planned to lay off 10,000 workers, or less than 3% of the company's corporate workforce. But the number has since grown. The e-commerce giant will make the rest of the cuts in the coming weeks. Where it says, 18. So the CEO, Andy Jassy, said the company will eliminate 18,000 roles, with most of the layoffs coming in the company's Amazon stores
Mhm.
and people experience and technology solutions division. They are not the only ones. But my next question is, what are you going to replace these workers with? Do they still have enough workers to keep up with the high demand? Because we all order on Amazon, even when we try to be um anti corporate. We
Okay.
all It's like we can't live without Amazon. But are these workers going to be replaced by AI, artificial intelligence?
They may eventually, but what I think they're just trying to do is just trying to get them off the balance sheet. So they
Okay.
believe that demand is going to be a lot softer because we won't have as many people ordering because we may be going into a recession. It may work best just to get them off the balance sheet. We don't have to pay them because if we look at those people necessarily weren't who were driving the sales for Amazon. And
Mhm.
so what I try to tell people, if you're in a business, just based on my own experience, if you don't work in marketing and you don't work in sales, the business can exist without you.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people, and I used to tell people, if you work in a business, are you a variable or are you a fixed cost for that business? Because if you're a variable, they can get rid of you. If they have you baked into the business model as a fixed cost, they probably have a difficult time getting rid of you. And I think a lot of people really need to examine their position. So even with the people in corporate, if they were just there because we expanded and we needed more corporate positions, but
Mhm.
they're not really a necessity for us to operate our business, we can always get rid of them and find them at a later date, especially in the tech space, because America puts out a lot of tech workers. So we'll
Mhm.
have some when we get ready to go hire them back.
Um, Also, let me just read this part here. While most of the company's 1.5 million employees, damn, so that
Yeah,
18,000 is not a lot.
it's not a lot unless you wanted the 18,000.
Exactly. Yeah,
Exactly.
and I'm not saying that lightly, but 1.5 million employees work in warehouses. The layoffs have so far been concentrated in Amazon's corporate groups. Amazon declined to comment on this article by the Insider. Also, Vimo, Vimeo, they're getting ready to lay off 25,000. And Netflix, Twitter, and Meta, they already were cutting thousands of workers as well. The trend has not yet shown signs of slowing down in 2023. Salesforce announced a 10% workforce reduction this week past Wednesday. So this is, I guess, a trend that we're going to start seeing in 2023. A lot
Yeah,
of these major corporations, these major companies that we use and see every single day, laying off thousands of people.
yeah, you're seeing a lot of layoffs in tech, but one of the benefits of tech, if you have really strong tech skills, I've read a lot of articles showing that you can get picked back up. So even though they're churning workers maybe out of one corporation, you probably can get picked up. But what we're seeing with a lot of the, I would say the upstart tech, a lot of
Mhm.
the startup tech, is they're cutting massive amounts out of their labor force
Okay.
because they expanded because they were very much in a growth stage over the past 2 years. We're
Right.
no longer in that growth stage. So they're just cutting everybody because once again, once the revenues get challenged, a lot of times your biggest expense most times is going to be your labor. So you just
Okay.
got to let them go.
And did you answer the question about the AI replaced by AI?
They could be replaced by AI, but it depends on their position.
Okay.
Because the challenge with AI implementation is that's also going to cost money. So
Okay.
we're looking just to cut costs. What we want to do is cut costs and kind of see how the economy settles going into this new year.
Mhm.
And then once we can understand that, then we can decide whether or not we're going to replace them with AI or we're going to bring them back new people. Because the AI implementation is also going to be a cost.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Moving on.
Okay.
Canada prohibits Nigerians from purchasing homes, right?
Yeah.
Um, I kind of like this idea, and I think America needs to implement this. I just want to share this screen real quick.
Okay.
Why Canada ban Nigerians, other foreigners from buying estate properties? So I think it's a good idea. I've read or heard somewhere that Chinese, they, what is it, 30% or 50% of United States real estate that they own.
Okay.
They have a big stake in
Yeah.
our real estate here. The Chinese also dominate our stock market. They're investing in our stock market heavy, right? So Canada is basically, looking out for its citizens. So the Canadian government has banned non-Canadians for buying homes in the country following surge prices in the real estate market. The North American country passed a law after the start of COVID-19 pandemic, but it took into effect January 1st of 2023. Canada took this decision that will last only 2 years, with some politicians believe that buyers were behind the skyrocketing prices, jerking up the supply of homes as investments. Um, we do know here in America, you have now a lot of these hedge fund companies
Mhm.
that are buying up blocks
Yeah.
and reselling it at a higher price. And maybe Canada was saying, listen, we see, this happening here and it's shutting out our citizens. So, let's stop them from coming in here for 2 years. At least that gives, their Canadian citizens enough time to buy a home, to save up money or what have you, and to get back on their feet coming out of the COVID lockdown. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's a pro and a con, right? So I think there is something to be said where the country says, let's protect our citizens first and make sure that they can afford to get housing. Because if the housing market is so competitive and they're being pushed out by foreign money and the price keeps going up, then they can never get into a house. But then we as the country got to deal with these citizens being unhoused. And we see this in other parts of the world. A lot of people that like to go visit Thailand, what I found out is that you can't own any property in Thailand. You can own a condo, but you can't actually own physical real estate. So you
You
have to own it
can't?
through, you cannot.
Okay.
So you have to own it through somebody else, and you have to hope that relationship stands up so you can maintain ownership of it. I think they got to own like a majority of it, and then you can own the minority of it, but we can't just own it outright. We
Not
have,
even land.
I'm sorry,
Not even land.
I don't believe you can own land. I heard you can get a condo, but I heard you cannot buy land
Okay.
because they don't want foreigners owning land outright in their particular
Mhm.
society. They want that to be for their people. So I
Right.
can understand what Canada comes from, where they're saying that the foreign investors are coming in, they're buying the real estate, they're making it so competitive because a lot of times they may be overbidding for the real estate to where
Mhm.
our own people can't afford it. And then now we have to deal with it because we got a lot of people that are unhoused and they can't get a piece of Canada, like they think they should because they're Canadian citizens.
Right.
The downside of it is that, do we want a market to where the government starts to dictate that people can't get access to the market just because of their nationality? And so
Oh,
you got to kind of ask
okay.
yourself, because if they say, even though the headline is Nigerians, but it's really foreign nationals.
Yeah.
So if they say, well, foreign nationals can't get access to this, what if they say, well, foreign nationals now can't get access to that just because they're foreign nationals?
Or does that open the door for discrimination,
Exactly.
not just with wealthy foreigners, but just foreigners, period?
Yes, ma'am.
And somehow they put in these loopholes that could implement that could be pushed upon actual citizens as well. So when you create a law that's saying, okay, you can't purchase this for X amount of years. This is for foreigners, but I'm pretty sure in that law is probably some type of what you call it, the fine print to where it could possibly apply for your actual citizens. Do you see what I'm saying? I would
Understand.
say that's a con to where you kind of leave that door open for any type of interpretation that could affect your own citizens, not just foreigners.
Yeah.
Um, it also said here, according to the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his Liberal Party last year, the desirability of Canadian homes is attracting profiteers, wealthy corporations,
Yeah.
and foreign investors. Um, I'm just it says the following 2021 election victory, Liberals quietly introduced the prohibition prohibition
Yeah.
on the
Prohibition.
purchase of residential property by non-Canadians Act. Major markets such as Vancouver, Toronto have also introduced taxes on non-residents and empty homes. It says, according to the campaign site, this is leading to a real problem for underused and vacant housing, rampant speculation, and skyrocketing prices. Homes are for people, not investors, and I agree with that. So here in America, just real quick, oh my God, I forgot what amendment this was. I don't
Okay.
know if it's this Fourth Amendment. No, I'm sorry, the 15th Amendment. Corporations are considered as a person.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think we will ever implement that type of law here because that's embedded in our constitution. Our corporations is considered as a person. So you can't tell a person which is considered a citizen you can't buy homes, but maybe foreigners. But I don't think they're going to do that here. What do you say about that?
I mean,
Us.
we got to see how it goes, because I think one of the reasons the West, United States, and Canada is so attractive is because there's a lot of instability in the East, and a
Mm-hmm,
lot of people are realizing if we just take our money and we park it in U.S. or Canadian real estate, because of the real estate market, what is the money going to do? It's going to continue to appreciate, and we've
mm-hmm.
seen this over the past few years. So I think this is why we're getting a lot of foreign investment, where people in other parts of the world, their markets are not as strong as ours, and they're realizing that the U.S. real estate market is really hot. I don't see any signs of a crash anytime soon, especially in the markets that I'm looking at. And I think that's one of the reasons why these markets have become so attractive. You just got to be worried about, what if they come up with a law that says, well, if you're a foreigner in Canada, you can't go to our colleges because you're
Okay.
pushing our native people out, as opposed to, or we're going to lower the amount of foreigners that can actually go to school in Canada. So I don't see
But
anything
that would be a
wrong.
foreigner problem, not a citizen problem.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but they're saying that the foreigners, because what they're saying is that the foreigners are eating up the inventory of homes. What if
Yeah.
they say, well, the foreigners are eating up the inventory for us to go to colleges? Then they start pushing them out of the school. So
Mhm,
if you're on the outside looking in, you got to ask yourselves, is this going to be like a trend in Canada
mhm.
where they're going to start making movements just to protect citizens from outsiders, which they
Right.
have a right to do because it's their country. But do they want that? Because what makes America a really powerful market is the foreign investment.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that we got to take into account. What makes America such a strong place is money comes from all over the world to America to invest here, because people think they can get a good return.
But at the same time, it shouldn't be at the expense of your citizens.
That's what we may agree on that, but the people that are controlling our society and the bankers and people like that, they don't care where the money comes from. They just care that they get the money and they can get the return. So they don't care if the people on the middle and the bottom get pushed out, because that's not their people anyway.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
So you know what? I agree. I do side with Canada. You know, yes, they're very liberal and stuff, but I side with them as far as this. You know, you cannot buy property in 2 years. Just real quick. So you think that, let's say here in America, you don't think we're going to have like a real estate crash? Do you think home prices will go down sometime in 2023 or maybe 2024?
The problem is that the prices went up so much. Even if we lose 10, 15%, they're still too expensive for most people.
Right.
So what we have is
or may level out.
So, but this is the issue, and I know you know this because you like it in the Northeast, so I'm down south.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to Orlando, where I'm from, we go to Miami, we go to Tampa. The prices are still out of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So even if we lose 10% off the price, if the house is $600,000 and we lose 10%, it's still not affordable.
Right.
And the problem is that with the rate going up, the cost of capital going up, and the house being more expensive, it makes that house that much more expensive over 15 to 30 years.
Right.
So that's the issue, is we have what people are looking for, which I don't think they're going to get, is an 08 crash. I don't think that happens.
Right. That's okay.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm saying.
No,
I don't think that's, and I don't think people want that to happen, because if you was around in 08, you saw how many people lost everything.
Right.
So if you lose everything, it don't matter how cheap the house is. You don't have nothing to buy it with anyway.
I think on our next segment, I want to expand on that and expand on, can it be a real estate market crash, not for us, the regular people, but for corporations? Is that a possibility? But we could go in details about that, because I want to kind of flush that out. That's just an idea. So yeah. That's it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Diamond Dave.
No
Tell people where they could go and subscribe to your YouTube channel.
So you can find me at YouTube Diamond Dave, and just type it right into YouTube. I'll be right there.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate for having me.
Dana with the data. Dana with the data.